it's not like you can just pick anybody to kind of push buttons on a milling machine. There's a lot to be considered, a lot of experience that you need, and we have that as VRS, as nobody else does.
Hello and welcome to the Enabling Green Mobility podcast by Vossloh. Today we have Tobias Günther here with us. Tobias is Global Operations Specialist. I'm very happy to have you here, Tobias. How are you?
Thank you very much, Timon. Happy to be here. I'm very good. I hope you're too.
I'm fine too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's jump right in, Tobias. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where do you come from? When did you start working at Vossloh?
My name's Tobias. As you said, Tobias. I started with Vossloh in 2016, so 9 years ago almost. Mm-hmm. I studied in Hamburg, but I'm originally from Kassel. And people may or may not know Kassel for Wilhelmshöhe, the train station, or the Documenta, the famous arts fair. But yeah, made it to Hamburg 15 years ago and stayed ever since.
Nice. And when did you start? When you start working at Vossloh, what was your first position, and how did you move from there ever since?
I started as an intern in 2016 and had a small little project that I prepared for InnoTrans in the business development department. And I later then switched to the milling segment as a project engineer. And after a few years, I started as a project manager for our very new machine, the VTM Compact, that we designed and built in-house. Mm-hmm. And when we finally decided in 2019 to ship one of these machines to the United States in America, we were looking for somebody to kind of follow the machine and go with it, actually to North America. And that's what I did. And I kind of acted as director of operations then for 4 years before I came back in January this year. That's kind of like a roundup.
Okay, Tobias, you said that 5 to 6 years ago, you moved to the US. Can you tell us something about the big projects that you had in the US?
Absolutely. It was a great experience to kind of make that move, not just personally for myself, but also from a career perspective. We brought the machine to the North American market, and we were literally the first to introduce milling to the market. So it was actually more like an educating process in the start. So we had to tell everybody what is milling all about in general, not specifically to the VTM Compact, but in general. What advantages does it come with? How does it compare to grinding, which we actually don't want to push because we don't see ourselves as an alternative to grinding, more like a replacement. But it was very much that kind of learning process and kind of teaching process for the customers before we even got to the first projects with the machine, which we then had in Seattle and later on in Denver, where our headquarters is in North America.
How many projects in total do we have in the US currently running?
We do have both of our small transit machines in North America present right now. So both the VTM Compact and the HS3 City is locally present in North America. Sometimes they do operate simultaneously. We had that scenario last year where we were in Montreal grinding and in Toronto milling. Right now, as we speak, we are having a huge measurement campaign for New Jersey Transit, which is very exciting because as a group, we've never done it before. It's very exciting. It's something new. It also includes Vossloh Rail Watch, so kind of like not just VRS, but one Vossloh approach.
Mm-hmm. Can you again shed some light on the difference between milling and grinding so that everyone out there understands what we are talking about here?
Absolutely. So milling is kind of like really the tool to fix deep defects. It's more a replace or kind of like an alternative to rail replacement. So whenever you have deep defects or profile deformations that grinding cannot fix anymore, you would send milling. Milling is kind of taking off a lot of material, whereas grinding is more like a scratching process. So you have less removal, higher speeds. And both technologies come with different advantages, disadvantages. So you have sparkless for milling, but then at the same time, you need, for example, a new tool for each profile that you mill. So it doesn't really substitute each other. It's more like an add-on solution to the existing portfolio.
And from a proportion, what would you say, how much milling, how much grinding do we do? Is it 50-50 or?
Well, in Europe, we do a lot of milling. Actually, Vossloh is the biggest provider of milling services by far in Europe. As I said, for the North American market, we were the first ones to really introduce milling. So it was a 100% grinding market with a huge lobby, tough to break into. But again, we don't see ourselves as an alternative to grinding. We do believe that it's like a different approach with a different market, and there's enough of a market share for both technologies, milling and grinding out there for sure.
And during your time in the US, were there any, I don't know, funny occurrences that happened to you? How difficult was it to basically educate the people over there?
It depends. I mean, the railroad, I think overall, all over the world is very conservative. So it's tough to convince people of new technologies, of something new. But you do meet a lot of interesting people in the railroad. Many may seem a little strange when you meet them. They may look a little strange. They may have strange behavior. But most of them are really nice. They have many stories to tell. Very interesting people that you just need to listen to. And I do remember one story. I mean, maybe not that funny in the first place, more like concerning, but today I can laugh about it. We had a campaign in New York City. We were working late evenings to late mornings, and all of a sudden somebody from the customer just disappeared. He went to get breakfast from one of the local coffee shops, and he came back, and all of a sudden he placed his donuts, bagels and coffee on the third rail. So one of the big don'ts to do, never step on the third rail, never touch the third rail. Doesn't matter if it's live or not. He was all of a sudden kind of having his breakfast buffet on the third rail. So we always praise safety for sure. That's why we couldn't laugh at that point. But today, I guess, yeah, different part of the world, different approach.
And since you're now back in Germany at Vossloh Rail Services, what is your current position looking like?
Exactly. I came back in January after 4 years in the US. Even before I came back last year, I started to support other VRS entities in other parts of the world. So I've been to Australia a few times last year, Southeast Asia. So I came back to act as a global operations specialist. That's my official title. And my responsibility now is more like from a global perspective to support VRS entities abroad, to kind of help kickstart their businesses, to ensure all the interfaces are working, to provide support whichever is needed. So there is a big campaign coming up in Sydney in Australia that I will be part of in the coming month. And then also we have some milling to do in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, which is pretty exciting. So there is enough to do in the rest of the world, not just in the US. Yeah.
You've been to the US and now you're obviously looking at other countries as well from a global perspective. Do you see any differences in starting and helping to start the business over there in those countries?
I do. I mean, even in North America, United States compared to Canada, there are differences already. I do believe Canada is a lot more open-minded to new technologies, to try out something new. That's why we had our big milling campaigns in the past few years in Canada, mainly for Canadian customers, which has been a bit more easier than in the US. Australia is a little different. There have been other milling providers in the past, so people know about the technology, they know about the benefits and what it can do for them, so it'll be easier to get a foot on the ground. Southeast Asia is a totally different animal, a totally different culture, work safety, all that is kind of a lot different, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to it.
You touched on some of the competition in Australia particularly. How do you look at competition in general for VRS?
I mean, for the small machine, the VTM Compact, we are pretty much without any serious competition because of the size of the machine. It's very unique to the market. It's the smallest milling machine that we have, so that we can really pitch the advantages of such a small machine and our USPs. For the big machines, it's a little different for sure, since we also operate Lenzinger machines, of course. But a lot about milling is about know-how as well. So it's about the people that we have who know how to operate the equipment. It's not like you can just pick anybody to kind of push buttons on a milling machine. There's a lot to be considered, a lot of experience that you need, and we have that as BRS, as nobody else does.
Mm-hmm. You briefly talked about, the positive advantages of the VTM Compact. Can you shed some light what those advantages are next to its small size?
For sure, yeah, it's the mobility. I mean, it's small, yes, but yet very powerful. We can still remove a lot more material compared to bigger machines. The size obviously reflects to mobilization cost. So if you only have a few feet or a few meters that you need to mill, nothing beats the VTM Compact in terms of mobilization, right? Yes, you are a little slower compared to bigger machines, but again, the removal rates are higher. The flexibility that you have is better and higher, and you can really kind of deploy it to your hotspot areas that needs special attention.
You earlier mentioned that your next project is going to be in Sydney, in Australia. What is going to happen there?
In Australia, in Sydney, we have just been awarded a frame contract for which we will deploy our high-speed grinding city machine 60 shifts a year over 5 years. They want to get rid of corrugation. So they run their autonomous cars mainly underground in inner city areas, and they have many complaints about noise, about ride comfort, and they see the high-speed grinding city machine as the best tool to address that. And on top of that, they only have kind of 2 to 3 hours a night where they can actually do works. And with the speed that we have with the high-speed grinding city machine running up to 60 km/h, they see that as the only solution to really fix their problems.
How big is the team in Australia?
Right now, it's my colleague Matt Waterhouse and myself. Okay. But the team will grow for sure. With the frame contract now in place, we will get extra personnel, a main operator, a crew lead, to really be able to kind of independently from European support and my presence to actually conduct these shifts and be successful.
Super exciting. All the best for those endeavors. What is on your radar beyond Australia? Do you already have something coming up as well?
Nothing concrete that I'm aware of. I just personally want to get a few more insights to all these businesses that I have not had the chance to work that closely with. I mean, we have foreign entities in France, VRS France, we have VRS in Italy, we have obviously our very successful colleagues in China. So it may be that I'll just focus on that, travel around a little bit, get to know these colleagues and try to find out which support they may need and how we can actually connect internally better for future projects.
And what would you say in terms of better connecting internally when we look at also the other Vossloh business units? What is the interaction there? How would you say that we can present ourselves as the system house for rail infrastructure?
I think we as Vossloh Rail Services, we come more like towards the end of a customer-client relationship. So let's say you have a new build project. Obviously, they buy fasteners and sleepers first, and then maybe do skim grinding and take care of maintenance later on. If we can kind of find a way to include maintenance intervals already during the process of selling our products, and maybe give like a warranty, for example, or something as a benefit, as a goodie to it, that could actually work out pretty well. But we have had a project in Canada already where we actually did skim grinding in Montreal, and we had Vossloh ties, we had Vossloh fasteners, we had Vossloh pads, and then we did the measurements and the grinding. So it was a full one Vossloh project already. So those are always the nicest projects for sure.
Okay, and what is our customer in Canada that you just talked about saying about us after this complete offer?
He brought us back last year after the year before. I think that speaks to it. And they will bring us back again this year when they open up the newest line. So they are very happy about our services, our professionality, and we are looking at a hopefully long-term relationship, maybe in a frame contract as well.
Tobias, so you shared a lot about the business facts that you are currently looking at and working on. Do you maybe also want to share something about your personal soft elements? So how do you disconnect from work?
Absolutely. So I like sports. And honestly, after traveling so much for 4 years through the United States, which I enjoyed very much, I'm looking forward to kind of settle down a little bit more again, spend some more time at home with family, and have a chance to also kind of do sports a bit more. I like basketball, so hopefully spring starts pretty soon, so time to get to the court outside and throw some buckets. But yeah, just be a little bit more active. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. So I would then recommend that you use the springtime in Germany before going over to Australia, whereas maybe there's it gets colder again. I want to say thank you very much, Tobias, for joining in today's Enabling Green Mobility podcast. It was great to have you. Great to hear about your insights and your experiences in the US and all the experience that you are going to see now going forward. And with that, to all the listeners out there, thank you very much for again tuning in to the Enabling Green Mobility podcast. Watch out for the next episode to come. Thanks for listening today. Cheers.